I said, okay, then let me call my husband, your fiance. And I said, husband, your fiance is on the phone.
We may look different and live in different countries, yet our stories are knitted with the same threads of excitement, uncertainties, challenges, and victories. As we journey through the ups and downs of life, it is our undeniable will and God's strength that propel us to joy after pain, smile after frowns, and ups after downs. We were born to win. We were destined to greatness. We are overcomers. Welcome to God Scoops, raw and unedited stories. Welcome to Raw and Unedited Stories, the place where stories are told to uplift, encourage, and to brighten your day. Thanks to those who have already subscribed to our channel. And to those who have not, now is the time to do so. Remember to click the notification bell and, of course, leave a comment so we can know what you think. Today with us is a special woman who is here to share her story. But before she begins to talk about who she is and where she's from, let us just welcome her to Raw and Unedited Stories. Deborah, thank you.
Hi.
Finally.
Finally.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So my name is Deborah. Well, it's not my correct name, but I preferred to be called Deborah based on divine intervention. My correct name is Shalit Golden. I am from Portsmouth in Jamaica. I got married at a very, a little bit mid-age, thereabout. And I'm a mother of two. I'm a teacher and educator. I've worked in all aspects of education, if not most. Presently, I am living in Georgia, where I am still an educator and I'm pursuing a doctorate in business administration. Yeah, so basically that's
Pretty
me.
interesting. Pretty
Yes,
interesting.
yes,
Now, Deborah, talk to us about your story. Our audience can't wait to hear your story.
yes. So my story is it is all compiled in a book, right? It's all compiled in a book, but it's a real story. It's something that happened to me, and this is one of the things I said in my book that the journey is sacred. It's not to demean anyone, it's not to bring anyone down, it's nothing like that, but it is a story that is common to most. So I am a woman who I got married and to a man of the cloth, of course, and I was titled as a first lady. And of course, I went through a whole lot. I went through a whole lot. And one of the things that I went through was domestic violence. And for me, that was very, deterring because, you're married to a man of the cloth, you're expecting something different. And then prior to meeting him, his behavior was so sweet. He was such an angel prior to meeting him. So after getting involved with him, getting married and so on, I started finding out the abusive side of him.
You
It
said
got to
you said a
well,
man of the what? A man of the
a man of the cloth, a pastor,
a man
madam.
of the cloth?
Yes, a pastor. But I'm
Okay.
just being very gentle to say a man of the cloth. But let me say a pastor.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. So, some persons don't like the raw thing. So I'm glad I could clarify that. A pastor, yes. And so to be honest, he was like oh my God, he was like my knight in shining armor. I remember prior to the marriage, even during the
Courtship.
courtship and so forth. We always go to this plaza in Portsmouth. They would see us. And I remember after the wedding, when they saw, the premarital photos and the ones after, they were like, ooh, the couple of the year. Because we got married in 2007, April 7th, 2007. Yes. And it was just, amazing initially. That type of behavior I experienced in the marriage was not something I was really expecting. But I went through it. I went through to a point where I want to share an instance when there was a point when someone called him, and it's like the person called him, and one of his ladies called. And so when I went on the phone with him, and it's like, the young lady came on the phone and she said, may I speak to my fiance? So can you imagine? You are you're married to a man, and somebody's calling and saying, can I speak to my fiance? And there and then I was like, oh, could you please describe your fiance? How does he look? And she described him. And I'm like, okay, what did you say his name was again? And she said it again. And I said, what is his middle name? And she knew his middle name. I said, okay, then let me call my husband, your fiance. And I said, husband, your fiance is on the phone. And I didn't say anything for the entire night. But I woke up that night to that man sharpening a cutlass.
Yeah.
Yes, I woke up. I heard the sharp, him sharpening the cutlass, and it woke me up. And he was like there, and he was saying things, and you're not saying anything. You think you can leave me. If you think you can leave me, I will kill you, kill these children, and kill myself.
He was sharpening his machete. That's what you said?
He was sharpening his machete and all of that. So, and I was like, oh my God. And anyway, I'm telling you this, women, ladies, when it comes on to an abusive spouse, listen, certain things you can't stop, but this is it. You got to think, you got to be smart. Because if that night I started screaming and running out that house, I wouldn't be here. I probably would have been dead, because that adrenaline rush, whatever was going through his mind, he would have dealt with me. But then something in me kicked in and said, just be nice to him. Just be nice to him. And ladies, there's a time in our lives that you don't want to, I mean, definitely, you don't want to stay with an abusive spouse, but there's a time in your life when you got to be smart, and that seductive part of you, it got to kick in. And that night, that part of me kicked in where I started to, rub him down and, oh, honey, I wouldn't do that. Why are you sharpening this cutlass? Why are you doing that? And I was just there talking to him nice. And I, rubbed his hand, and I listened to that I'm saying, God, take me out of this, Lord, take me out. But when you're taking me out, I want to be alive, and I want my children to be alive. But then God put that in me, because listen, I wasn't seducing somebody's husband at the time. He's my husband. So I was just there, talking to him, and he puts away the cutlass. And I believe that saved my life that night.
I feel as if I'm watching a movie.
Mm-hmm. I need to make it into a movie. I do. This book needs to be a movie, because, listen, I did say earlier, it's nothing to contradict anyone, because I don't put his name or anything in it. But this is it. We've got to be mindful of the person who we get involved with. And sometimes you don't know, but time will tell. And for me, I thought that I got married too quickly. For me, that's what I'm thinking, because it wasn't we didn't know each other like for years. Yes, I knew his background in the sense that I met his mom, I met some of his family, but there were things that was not even known to me that along the way in the marriage, I became aware of it. And then some of these things, had I known before, I would have thought about it, and
I am curious though.
Yes.
So he was pastoring a church.
Yes, he was.
At this time.
At that time, yes, he was.
How long did you court?
I met him in 2005, October, November, thereabouts. And then we started to talk, and we got married. So that's less than 2 years.
Okay.
That's less than 2 years. Don't get me wrong. There are folks who do it earlier and it worked, but it just doesn't work for some of us.
Right. So let's continue with the story of his fiance and the machete and.
Yes, so that night he put away that night I was sweet. I was a darling. So I put it away. But I remember some events continued that week, because these ladies, I'm not calling these ladies, but they're always calling me. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on. But eventually, I remember one night, and my son is 20 years old. He's 20 years old in next month, February 16th. And I give God thanks for that child, because I remember one night when that man put his hand around my neck, and he locked his hand around my neck. And my first thing went was my sight, because he felt that every time I know about another girl in his life, oh, you want to leave the relationship. Because I always say to him, listen, I don't believe you're ready for marriage. I don't believe it was something that you're ready for. And I am peculiar about diseases. I don't. I mean, look at the fact that you are supposed to be a man of God. So if this is not something you're ready for, I'm willing to let this marriage go. He didn't want to hear that. He didn't want to hear that, because, and I'm saying all of this after so many counseling sessions, so many persons tried counseling us and stuff like that. And I remembered when my eyesight went, the only thing that was intact was my hearing. And I remember I heard my son feet. Is that my son jumped from somewhere? I think it was on the bed, because he was on a bunk bed. So he came from the top, and I heard his feet, jump on the ground. And he slapped him in his back and said, "Daddy, are you going to kill my mother?" And that was when his hand released. And I started coughing. And on coughing and coughing, my sight came back. So that was a near-death experience. And I said to folks that, listen, you can tell somebody, you can counsel a woman about domestic abuse, domestic violence, you can tell her all you want to tell her. But unless you've been in her shoe, don't try to think you know everything, because this is it. Some folks may not have made it because somewhere along the line something happened, and some of these crazy guys, they kill, and these ladies die. But this is it. There is something about prayer, and there is something about contacting God, being in contact with God, talking to God, even when we make mistakes. And we do the things that does not please God. What God wants us to know, that, listen, you can talk to me. You can relate to me, and I will help you. And that is what God did for me. God knew that relationship was draining. It was draining. And, my story, it is so wide, because it's not just the marriage. It's even the after effects after the marriage, because a lot of things happen after that. So it's just God himself that really kept me with everything that went on.
So talk to us about, how did you get out of that
Okay,
marriage?
so in December 2013, to be exact. So he went away for a couple of months, but before that, I want you to know that I'm a dreamer. So I see things in dreams, and they usually come to pass unless I pray, and I pray against them. But there are some things that you can't cancel. You will cancel it, but it's just inevitable. And so he came back after months from overseas. By this, he was engaged to a girl there while we were married. And he was up and down all over introducing the girl as his fiance while we were married. So before he came back, the Lord, I was in like 21 days of fasting and prayer. And the Lord said to me, you're going to get a hose, and you're going to pray for 3 days, no food. Those last 3 days, just pray. Get a hose, and you're going to wash your house out. I said, God, you're serious? The Lord said, wash the floors, wash the wall, wash the doors. Just at the last day of your prayer, wash that house out. And I was like, why do I need to wash my house? But my house is clean. And the Lord said to me, your husband is coming back, and he's coming back to get rid of you. And I am covering you, and everything that he's coming with, God, I'm canceling it. I saw my body in the spirit in a pool of blood in my tub. But then by this man has filed a divorce that says he doesn't know where I am. That was filed from July. So he came back in December. When he came back, I came across the document. And when I came across the document, by December until night. So when I got the document, I look at it, and then I got on the video, and I started on the camera, on the text, and I started telling my bishop about the divorce I saw, and how he lied that I wasn't there or whatever. But when eventually there was a little girl who keeps saying to her mother that day, could you please go and see Sister Brian? The little girl called me Sister Brian. She said, could you please go and see Sister Brian? Because at this time of the marriage, at that time, he was no longer pastoring. And that's another thing, that why he was no longer pastoring. right? It was a threat that he got involved with somebody's woman, and he was threatened, so he ran and leave the church. So at that latter part of the relationship, he was no longer pastoring. But that lady came to me, and her daughter, she went to her bed, and her daughter wake her up and say, please go and see her. And when the lady comes to see me, I got distracted because I remember my bishop said, close this laptop out. So I went up and he saw the information that I knew now, that he has filed a divorce from July. So he came down and he started behaving the most way, and he took up a cutlass. At this point, the kids were in the room sleeping. And he took up a cutlass and said, you think you can leave me? Before you leave me, I kill you, I kill the children, and I kill myself. And that was something he said several times. And when he said it the first time, I was like, I wonder if I'm hearing well. But after he's saying it a lot, I'm like, I need to get out of it. God, I need to get out with my life. So then what happened, he eventually started swinging the cutlass at me. But that lady was there that night. And I remember she held him down and she said to me, when I hold him, I want you to run as fast as you can, because he was determined that he's going to chop me up in front of the lady, done all the lady if possible. And I ran that night up the road. I ran, and when I ran, he almost caught up with me. But then I heard two things go click, click. I don't know about guns, but it was afterwards I heard that some neighbor I have in my community, they're cops. They heard me running. They heard my footstep running from down the hill to up the hill, because Longville Park is a little, little hilly. Yeah, it is. It is a little hilly, yes. So it was after that they said that when they looked, they realized it was my husband chasing me with a lass, and they didn't bother to do anything, because he knew how the sound of gun sound, and he knew that it went click click with the gun, so he broke up his steps, so he didn't.
He stopped.
He stopped. So by time he stopped, I was already partway going through a gate, and the cops came. And that night, hey, I tell you have some cops, may God help them. One came. They won't do anything, man. Your loving husband, go back and stay with him. I said, no. And I remember my friend she said, she was a church and she was a friend. She said to me, if I allow her to go back tonight and I find her body tomorrow, I would never forgive myself. And I said to her, even if you had planned to, I wouldn't. Mm-hmm. And I went back with the cops. I took a few things. I took my kids. And that was how I came out of the relationship. But he was still in the house, because the house is my house. I'm the owner of the house. I'm the owner of the property. So, eventually he was still there until one of my brother called him. And because by this time now, my family now know that, listen, our daughter or sister or so-and-so, she is going through this, because they didn't know. It was after that whole event that they knew what was happening. I had a brother who suspected him though, but the way how he was going about it, I don't like the way how he was going about it, initially. But then the entire family found out. So that was the last of it in 2013, when the cops, went with me, and I took my kids and I moved out, and he eventually went back to the US, and that was the end of us, really.
Well,
yes,
you're brave. You're a brave woman
Thank you.
To get out alive.
Alive, I'm telling you.
Who did not get out alive.
I know.
Right? And right now, I'm just going to ask you to talk to us about, what did you learn about yourself? Quickly about that, and then we'll move on. What did you learn about yourself during that time?
During that time, I learned about my strength as a woman. I learned about the importance of waiting on God. I also learned that my name at birth should have been Deborah and not Shalit. I love the name Shalit. Oh my God, I love that name. But I should have been called Deborah, and that's a whole different story. Sort of lengthy. Oh, I got to find out and all of that. So I've learned also that even children suffer domestic violence, and it is impactful on them. And even men, there are men, because while I was creating my book, there were a number of men that I spoke to, and there were men who also experienced it, but the the broader spectrum is that of women and children.
So before we wrap up this session,
Yes.
know you have so much to talk to women who are currently involved in a domestic abuse relationship. Those
Yes.
who, some of them don't even know that they're getting in, they're seeing the signs and ignoring them.
Yes.
Talk to us.
Okay. So if you're seeing the signs and you are ignoring them, that's not good. Because if you need to just, you know, take the shame now. If you're thinking that, okay, people are gonna laugh at me, take that shame now and just get out. Don't go through with it once you're seeing the sign. Now, my concern are those ladies who are not seeing the sign. There is absolutely no sign because there are those narcissists who know how to pretend, and they will pretend for a while. Now, for you, a person can pretend for so long, and so waiting on God is very important. Wait on God. Wait on God. Wait on God. If somebody give you a prophecy, oh, that's your husband, whatever. No, you hear from God. You fast, you pray, and you wait on God. If you're already in it, ask God for his divine wisdom. Pray, 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 and whatever God tells you to do it.
Amen. And also, you have to know exactly that you can get out.
Yes, you can.
You can.
Hmm.
So never feel like you can't get out, right?
Yes,
Talk
yes.
to us briefly about your book.
My book, so I wrote a book in 2019, sorry, it's my memoir, and it's entitled Crisis, A First Lady's Journey, Deborah's Intriguing Story. It is right there on Amazon. You can go ahead, get your copies. I also have the e-version of it and as well as the print. There are most persons who prefer getting the physical print being mailed to them and so forth and so on. You can contact me on my email at deborah40 that I will correspond with you and get your physical copy to you, as well as you can go ahead, order your physical copies on Amazon and read that book. Give it to a friend, give it to someone who is struggling, giving in that way, give it, just share it, keep giving that book to someone, get them as gifts, give them out to those, get them reading in those areas where you have women are struggling with domestic violence, and those who are not sure if they're entering into that, those who are seeing the signs. You need to read that book. You need to read it, and you need to also look at the after effects of such situations.
Thank you, Deborah. And I'm sure we're going to invite you back to talk about the side
Yes,
effects of
yes.
domestic violence on children and women and even extended family members.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your memoir.
Thank you
And
so much.
thank you for joining us today on Raw and Unedited Stories, where stories are told to uplift and encourage. And remember, subscribe. And if you have not done so, remember to share and leave a comment in the comment section. Thanks for those who already subscribed. And you have yourself a phenomenal day.